I'm James Gatt. I'm the Associate Director at Gallery and an independent curator in Sydney. For me, curating is about making exhibitions, and those exhibitions are forms of comprehension for me and conduits between the curator, artists and their practices and their audiences. My first curatorial experience was as an artist, organising exhibitions with my peers at university, and then slowly progressed from there into a more independent curatorial practice, and then I slowly relinquished my art practice to focus only on curating because I realised that I was more interested in ideas than I was making objects or artwork, and I thought that curating was a nice way to work collaboratively to understand these ideas rather than independently as an artist. I should clarify that I'm a contemporary art curator, so I work mostly with living artists, although that changed most recently. The gallery that I work at, one of the artists we work with died this year, so it only just shifted. But whenever you're making an exhibition, it's the conversations with the artists leading up to the exhibition that always inform how the exhibitions will turn out. For me, curating to an extent is about being invisible. I think you just want to work in the background and your practice is about other people's practices. The things that inspire my practice most are the practices of artists, and I think that one of the biggest problems that all curators face is considering local practice within global conversations, and that can be a tension that's very difficult to understand and facilitate without seeming tokenistic. The metaphor that I often use is just a pebble that I throw into a pond, and wherever the ripples reach, I'm quite happy with that. For me, doing studio visits is very important to my practice. Meeting with artists, having ongoing conversations. The conversations don't stop after you do a studio visit. I don't, clock on at 9 and clock off at 5 p.m. There's text message conversations that happen at all hours of the day and email correspondences, and I often joke with people that I could work with the same 5 artists for the rest of my life and never really get to the nuance of their practice, but be completely satisfied myself. And sometimes it's not about the overarching themes, and it's more just about that connection with artists and representing their practices with integrity. The people I decide to work with, it can sound a little bit pretentious maybe, but it does happen naturally. You do develop relationships with certain people more naturally than others. So curating is definitely very human if you treat it as a practice and not a job. There is a difference between those two things. What I try and avoid with curating is devising a theme or an idea and then choosing the right artists, like you put the right ingredients to make a recipe. What that does is prohibit any kind of unpremeditated evolutions within the exhibition. I think curating is as much about the research as it is on the ground conversations with artists, and it's about going much deeper. For me, being very interested in the history of conceptual art, it's very important that I research and understand the key figures within that movement, but also possibly the conversations that were forgotten or dismissed. Curating as a practice means reading, going to as many exhibitions as you can, having conversations with as many artists and other curators as you can, actually engaging in the local ecology, and having a position and coming to grips with what that position means and becoming comfortable with it, that you cannot be everything to all people.